Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Box for today's Rassie Report, which is what we do every single Wednesday here on Forever Box, our dedicated Springbok news channel. Keep you updated with everything regarding the South African national side as we gear up for 2027. Really, the road for the three-piece starts. Well, it's already started. We're actually already a year into the process, but 2 more years. And today on the Rassie Report, what happens basically with the Rassie Report is we look at all the sort of conundrums and maybe what he's currently thinking about, what's currently the conversations happening with him and assistant coaches, and maybe sort of the big sort of decisions he needs to make. And today we'll be talking a little bit about the defensive system that Springboks have, and whether it has been found out, inverted commas, because of what we're seeing in, for example, the first weekend of the Six Nations and the trends we have seen in the last few months. Before we do that, please do smash the like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. We have gone past 1,000 subscribers, so very nice to have a nice budding Springbok fan community. And let's get into it, shall we? So basically, the reason I'm talking about this is because I'm very interested to see the trends from around the world that we're going to see in the next 6 months. And basically, what's happened is obviously ever since Jacques Nielba came in and the Box won two World Cups with the rush defense, that is becoming the norm. That's kind of becoming the template that a lot of teams are trying to implement, that kind of rush defense. And we've seen lots of teams doing it. Obviously England tried doing it when Felix Jones went there. And we've seen lots of teams trying to implement very much sort of different concepts from the Jacques Nielba defensive setup. And it's working for some teams, not working for other teams. But the main thing is, rugby is always going to kind of ebb and flow when it comes to team tactics. We're always going to have an interesting, for example, France and the way they would kick deep and, not really chase them, not really sort of put pressure on them, kind of wait for players to sort of put either kick it back or if they can go outside and then players are right there and then to try and add extra bodies to the attack. And, that was then outlawed because of the law that's now known as the DuPont law, for example, the Damien Williamson law as well. So, as changed games. So, we always see sort of trends that have sort of happen and they kind of come and go. So, for example, the box kick will very much be in and then it'll go out, and we'll see different sort of tactics. The rush defense, for example, being one of them. The main thing is the more that happens, the more people use it, the more people have to try and get around it, and the more people sort of look to innovate to try and find out how do we get past rush defense. Where are the cracks in it? Because every single defense setup has a crack in the system, and it's amazing how the box rush defense works so well because of certain players. The individual ability of Kurt Lawrence and Chazin Colby as last man defenders, as scramble defenders. The pace of a Faf de Klerk, for example, and how important he is in the defensive setup. So it's not that simple. You can't just take a template and just sort of implement to different teams because it relies on having certain qualities within certain players within your system. However, what we are now seeing is far more teams innovating to get around the rush defense. And for example, the past weekend we saw a big rise in the cross kick. Now, the cross kick is something that I think 6 or 7 years ago, if somebody pulled a cross kick, we'd all go to go, jeepers, that's really good. That's really proper. These days, the kick pass and the cross kick is becoming quite second nature actually to a lot of players. And in fact, it's becoming a necessary skill for any sort of scrum half or fly half to be able to sort of add that kick pass to the repertoire because of the rush defense, because it's such a good way of getting the ball out quickly. So the whole thing with the rush defense to basically stop any momentum and to stop teams going out wide quickly and basically sort of congesting the sort of the midfield of the field. And that's why you see, for example, Faf de Klerk rushing up and preventing anybody, even if it's taking the hit, but it's preventing that sort of momentum, that going out wide and getting the numbers. Now, what we are now seeing are teams sort of trying to circumvent this by going to a cross kick, for example, or going to a kick behind. So at the end of the day, if you've got a rush defense and you've got sort of people rushing up, you've then obviously got space in behind. And again, if you kind of rush up and you almost kind of rush up on like almost like a C, I suppose, type of thing, where it's almost, people rushing up quite quickly from a wide perspective to try and shut out that wide option. That then leaves a lot of space in behind. And if you can get past that, then all of a sudden you've got a massive numbers advantage, because if you can get a cross kick in behind that rush defense and your wing runs onto it, chances are they're either 1-on-1 with the fullback or maybe 2-on-1, but you've also probably got attackers running with you. So that's quite a simple, not simple, but it's quite a natural way of getting past that rush defense. It's not particularly easy to implement though, and only the top quality players can pull off accurate cross kicks where there's enough pace on the ball and not just sort of lofting high, where it's an effective cross kick. Players can run onto it and they've actually already circumvented the rush defense as opposed to giving them time to maybe adapt to the kick. But it's going to be interesting, I think, in terms of how do the Boks adapt to this. In terms of our defensive system, because you've got to make sure that you are staying up with the trends, and you've got to make sure that how, if for example we've got a rush defense, what's happening with the cross kick, who's falling back, who then sort of steps up, is the 15 stepping up to try and cover that space in inverted commas, which maybe gives more space in behind, which makes you more susceptible for 50-22, for example. So it's quite interesting how it's always a cat and mouse, kind of a chess game between teams, as you kind of build a defense and then someone will exploit a crack and then you'll have to go and look at it. I mean, for example, do you remember when Italy didn't contest any rucks against England? And therefore, there were no rucks formed, and they were able to sort of steal a lot of ball. And it completely just threw out all the tactics. Eddie Jones had an absolute shit fit afterwards, and England almost lost to Italy. And it's amazing how that was all of a sudden very quickly sort of banned. So you're always going to try and exploit weaknesses, and having the best defensive system in the world means that everyone's watching it, and everyone's trying to copy it. And the more people are copying it, maybe doing it badly, the more people are learning how to exploit it. So that's not to say just because you can get past an Italian rush defense, now all of a sudden you can get past a Boks rush defense. But there's far more innovation, I think, at the moment being implemented across different teams to counter this very specific type of defensive set piece. And that's why I think rugby is so fascinating, because now, for example, Jerry Flannery needs to make sure that the Boks defense, first of all, is obviously rock solid and implementing the systems. But how do we tweak it if we need to prevent teams from getting around it and from finding cracks in it? How do you find basically the least impregnable for defense possible? And that is always the conundrum with defense coaching. And you can just see, I don't think there's anybody more passionate about a section of the game than defense coaches, maybe scrum coaches. Because you can just see they live and breathe the not conceding tries, the shutting down of space, those moments where you think surely they're going to score a try, and something within your system stops that. So it's very, very passionate subject. It's a very cool thing. So we're going to be looking at this a lot when we get our Super Rugby Unlocked show going again, in terms of analysing how teams are doing this as well. But interesting to see how the Boks do adapt. Do you think that teams will be able to exploit to the Boks, or do you think the Boks are already sort of one step ahead and maybe already planning for it? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and we'll see you guys all next week Wednesday for the Rassie Report, and we'll have ad hoc videos as some Springbok news comes in here and there. So make sure you are tuning on your notifications so you get notified every single time we get a video upload, specifically on the Springboks. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.